If you thought my last watercolor tutorial was easy, wait till you try this one. Grab a small angle brush if you have one. A pointed round will work, but I do like the angle brush best for this method. I'll have my links below for the supplies I use. Start by prepping your paint, medium consistency, not too watery, not too dry. I'm using dioxazine purple for this first example. With the tip of my brush facing upwards, I'm just smushing it down on my paper to create individual petals. Here's a close-up of the way I'm holding my brush. Start with one in the center, then work your way down, alternating back and forth. I do occasionally add an extra petal here and there because I don't want these flowers to look too symmetrical. It took me a few hours of experimenting to figure out the absolute best way to go about this, with consistent results each time, and I believe I've cracked the code. I like to include some petals further down the stem as well. Now I'm going to use a fine-tipped round brush to add the stems. This one is a size 00. Using undersea green, I'm painting a fine line, not just at the bottom, but also in some of those gaps in between the petals. If you do this while your petals are still wet, you'll notice some lovely blending of purple and green, while if you wait until the petals are dry, it'll be more of a clean look. I try to add some darker values right where the flowers and the stem meet. And I'm also going to be adding some leaves. Just really simple, smooth lines. We're about to wrap this one up, and then I'm going to move on to another example that I'm even more excited to share with you. All right, so how easy was that? Took us less than 5 minutes. For this next version, I'm starting out with raw sienna, undersea green, and turquoise. Notice how I'm letting the colors run together on my palette, but I'm not actually mixing them. This is important. Now, when I dip my brush, I'm getting these cool variations of colors. See how you can make out the individual colors in some spots while they blend together in other areas? I'm using the same technique as before, working back and forth down the flowers. Sometimes I'll throw a petal into the center to mix it up. Again, we aren't going for symmetry or perfection. I really do love these colors together. And now we're just about ready to add some stems. And I'm going to be using a mix of raw sienna and undersea green. And I'm back to using that tiny pointed round brush. I'm going to link my last Wildflower video in the description below, just in case you haven't seen that one yet. Now, why don't we go over a really fun way to make leaves? So what I'm going to do here is start with just a really light touch, and then I'm going to press down a bit, and then lift right back up, back to the light touch as you finish it off. So again, it's light touch, press down, light touch. Light touch, press down, light touch. If you play around with this a little bit, I'm sure you'll come up with some really natural looking shapes. Here's another example of the multicolored version. This was my practice one, so of course it came out better than the one that I recorded, but that's always how it seems to go. Now let's look at some ways we can switch things up ever so slightly to create new looks. Here's an example using very light, more watery paint. Kind of looks like a lavender plant. And now for the opposite, darker paint with less water. I'd say this one reminds me more of lupins. And for this next one, I experimented with different leaves, sort of wispy and light. And this next one, I would say has a very whimsical feel. I didn't use any green at all, and it looks kind of like a field of purple wheat. Is purple wheat a thing? I'm not really sure. And then we have these reds and yellows, which are really fun, and I added a splatter of paint on this one. So I included this next example just to show you that a pointed round will work if you don't have that angled brush. I have more flowers to share in the coming weeks, so I hope you'll consider subscribing if you like these quick and easy tutorials. Thank you for watching.